Welcome to another episode of AVG Sports Media. Today we just gonna jump into some basketballs, but a lot of good hooping going on. And everybody know after the All-Star break in the NBA, that's when basketball really starts to rev up. And March Madness is usually the precursor to everything that develops moving forward in basketball. Speaking of March Madness, we had some real exciting games. My girls' team, my LSU, my young ladies, I should say, they lost on a heartbreaking buzzer beater. Shout out to Flage. I'm very excited about what you can do at the next level or what you expected to do. That was a hard loss. Then you got the Bouger twin that turned the ball over inexplicably in the last second, had full possession of the ball, thought he could make a play and ended up giving it up, and they hit a big three to close Duke out. Now, Duke, we must admit, Duke has been on the right side of history with shots like the Christian Laettner, what was that? The 3-quarter pass from Grant Hill, turnaround jumper for the buzzer beater to knock a team out. So sometimes, man, the house win. But you can't beat the house all the time. So Duke lost there, but shout out to that Michigan team. I was not really hip to Michigan all year to seeing what they did and what they brought to the table, but they had a hell of a squad. You know, we had a little dust up with Dunn and Ariama, so I think they got that smoothed out. But March Madness never disappoints. I always think about March Madness as a bunch of mini Super Bowls. You ain't got to be the best team. You just got to be the best team that day or that night, and that's definitely what happened. But like I said, we just here to talk about some basketball because now the NBA playoffs are here. We got the big boys out there. They ready. So let's walk these playoffs down in the first round, and I'm gonna just give y'all my thoughts about what I think, and y'all chime in, jump in the comments, rip your team. Let me know what you think. If y'all got a legitimate shot, or is it like the usual 2 or 3 teams that legitimately have a shot, which I think the field is wide open this year. But let's start with the East. So we got the Celtics and the Sixers matchup. Now with that, you got Maxey over there with the Sixers, Paul George, Joel Embiid. He doesn't get a lot of flack to say as much as I mean, people kind of talk about it, but you know how they get on Anthony Davis calling him street clothes AD and all that. Joel Embiid doesn't hear a lot of that. He's a player that stays suited up or in the locker room or at the house rehabbing much more than his fan base would like to see. I'll just say that because I like Joel Embiid. When he's at his best, he's one of the most dominant players in the league, hand down. And you got Andre Drummond, who's been putting in some good minutes for him, but he's on the back end of his career, so it's only so much you can expect from him. Then you got Paul George. He's doing his thing, but I just think the Celtics with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and he's like the NBA bad boy, and he's not a bad boy, but he's just one of those guys that don't play around square business about everything. So he's not one of the favorites of the league that they push and promote. So he doesn't get a lot of the promo that a lot of the other guys that were MVP candidates get, but he's definitely had an MVP worthy year. So, but out of that series, I'm definitely I'm going with the Celtics to win that. I just don't think the Sixers have enough. Now, this Knicks and Hawks matchup, face value, I thought the Knicks would just run away with this because Hawks wasn't a team that had a lot of household names, but they do have the cousin of SGA. They got Alexander Walker, who's been playing solid. CJ McCullough, he's a consistent all-star. He's a sleeper. And if you sleep on him, he will give you buckets, and he will, as he did the other night. Now, he missed 2 free throws down the stretch, which was uncharacteristically done by him because he doesn't usually, he's pretty reliable at the line. And he's been a dog, been consistent his whole time in the league. But the Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, Big Cat, who's had a down year, but I just think he's still too much in the paint for them for what they have over there with Atlanta. I think the Knicks just have too much firepower for Atlanta as far as scoring wise. I don't think Atlanta, even though the series is 1-1, just letting you know I am going with the Knicks in this one. Raptors and the Cavaliers. Now, Cavaliers, they picked up James Harden. I was just telling my nephew when we had this conversation. I'm still not sold on James Harden in big games. Now, all leading up to this, he might be a walking triple-double. He might do, because he's actually been doing his thing with the Cavs. He's a good fit for Donovan Mitchell. I think actually they complement each other very well. So I think he's a good fit. And the Raptors, they're another team that didn't have a lot of household names. They got Ingram, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, but it's not a lot of names that unless you're just a fan of basketball, you just readily identify to. So I think the Cavs it's just too much of a loaded team when you got somebody like Donovan Mitchell, Spider-Man, just having one of those. He's one of those consistent superstars that every year you know what he's bringing to the table. Never lets you down. Even when he's undermanned and overmatched, he still is going to be a walking bucket and going to be a problem on that court. So right now they're up 2-0. I got the Cavs really walking away from the Raptors. Now it is hard to go over there and play in Canada. Who knows? Maybe the Raptors can still win and make it interesting. But I got the Cavs actually sweeping that series. Now, and that's a 4-5 matchup. So it actually should be a little closer than you would think. Because I didn't know the Raptors' record was that good. So they are a respectable team. I just think that was a bad matchup with the Cavs. But who knows? One thing about the Raptors, they kind of like how the old school Spurs were. They're going to fight. You got to beat them. Like, they're not going to beat themselves. But the Pistons Magic, that's another interesting lineup. Because from the Pistons, you got right here from Dallas, Cade Cunningham. Magic, you got Banchero, Desmond Bain. I'm going with the Pistons in this one. I like what Cade's been bringing to the table this year. One of those breakout stars. I think he's next up to become more of a household name. I think people know him, but I don't think he's scratched the surface on what he can do. So I'm going with the Pistons in that one. So that's who I got for the East. Let's move over here to the West and see what the matchups look like there. Now, it has a lot more entertaining series, I will say that. A lot more names that you can readily identify with. The West is probably more interesting to casual fans, but a lot of good basketball is being played in the East. You got the Spurs and the Trailblazers. Now, Denny, I wasn't hip to him. Hell of a ball player. He opened my eyes the other night. I got him on my radar now, so I am watching now. You know, you got Drew Holiday. He's like, I put him in the same mold with a Mike Conley. Just consistent. As a point guard, everything you want for the toughness, timely shots, good defense, know how to run an offense. That's where I got Drew Holiday. Then you got Grant. You know, that's effort and hustle. He going to give you everything he can. Now, there's the name that jump out to you as far as highlights and what you probably seen Duncan getting up in the air doing his aerobics during the year was Shaedon Sharpe. High flyer. I love that kid game. A lot of energy, but I think Denny is more consistent and a more polished all-around player. Sharpe is going to provide those highlights. Now, for the Spurs, do I really have to say, because that freak, that alien, Wemby, he different. And right now, he's single-handedly taking over games, which he doesn't need to do it single-handedly. That's the thing. You got guys like De'Aaron Fox, who's one of those guards. I kind of thought he was kind of in the Westbrook mold at first when he was out there in Sacramento. I thought he had a lot of numbers, but I thought they were empty. I didn't quite, when he first got to San Antonio, I didn't know how he fit in that mix. Would he be able to, coexist with Wemby, try to get his numbers? But he didn't. He evolved into a true point guard. And I think that's what set the table for Wemby to do what he does. And then you got those other two guards, Vassell and Castle. Like, they look like twins out there. And they get busy. They locking up defense, very athletic. They locking down the perimeter and making timely shots. So I love that San Antonio. And then you got Harrison Barnes, champion with Golden State. So you got a solid team that's mixed with veterans and young blood that I really think we need to watch out for. I got San Antonio going to the Western Conference Finals. I don't see nobody messing with Wemby or stopping him. He's playing at another level right now, and he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. And I like what I'm seeing from that young kid. Now, for this matchup, you got the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Now, I got a little testy last night with the Joker and Ant-Man, and I love both of those superstars. Neither one of those guys backing down. They bringing everything they got. But it's tied up 1-1 now. And as I always say, a series start once you win one on the other one's home court. So for the Timberwolves, you got Ant-Man. I already know. Dante. You got Rudy Gobert. Julius Randle. That's a nice, legit squad. For Denver, you got Murray, the Joker. Aaron Gordon is one of those guys. I love the development I've seen from him since Orlando days. He used to stay kind of isolated in that dunker spot. I know a lot of people remember him from the slam dunk contest. If you've been keeping up with him his whole career, high fly, very acrobatic. And he put on one of the most exciting dunk contests I've seen. I think that was the year with him and my guy, played with my squad, Chicago, Zach LaVine. They put on one of the most exciting dunk contests like the league has seen in years up to that point, because the dunk contest was starting to fall off, and they kind of revitalized it with that year. But now it's kind of, back in the dumps. But what I said that to say this about Aaron Gordon. He's developed into a all-around player a 3-ball defense, still has some of that high flying in him, even in his later years in the league. So this is actually the Nuggets are at number 3, Timberwolves at number 6. Ant-Man, one of those guys I really don't like to count out because of his ferociousness and the way he plays, and he doesn't back down from any challenge, is evident last night. I really don't know who I'm leaning with in this. I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to go with my heart because I want to see Ant-Man advance. Of course, Denver's already got them one. Joker he lives in the MVP race. So I want to see Ant-Man advance. If Denver win, it wouldn't surprise me because they are a loaded team. Like I say, they know how to play. They've been there, done that. And they're not just going to give it to him. So if Ant-Man and his crew are going to take this series, they're going to have to do just that. They're going to have to take it. They're going to have to bring it. But I'm going to go with Ant-Man in this series. I'm going to go with my heart. Now, for this next one, this is one of the series I was kind of waiting to see as the playoffs started because after the injury of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, it was kind of interesting to see who the Lakers were going to match up with because I'm like, that's going to kind of dictate what they do or how much noise they can really make in the first round. And then they got matched up with Houston. Now, Houston is number 5, but something very strange happened. KD from a knee, I guess a bump knee in practice a week ago. I didn't know, and I keep up with sports a lot. I didn't know he wasn't playing until I think right up until tip-off. I seen him sitting there. I'm like, damn, KD is street clothes. What happened? So that definitely helped the King a lot. But as far as the King, LeBron James, he played to me one of the best games I've seen him play in his career. And it wasn't because of the dominance of the athleticism or driving to the lane. The way he orchestrates the court now at his in his later years in the league, it's like a Broadway composer. He's thinking 2 and 3 steps ahead of everybody on the court. If he sets the screen, he knows where the pass after the pass he make goes. He's already pointing it out. And the way he orchestrated that game to me is just showed his basketball IQ is one of the highest we've ever seen. And me and one of my co-hosts, Jug, on the block is how we go back and forth about LeBron because as he like poking at LeBron fans more so than anything. But I always tell people I don't have LeBron as my GOAT, but I respect the hell out of what he's done and what he's accomplishing in his later years. That guys just coming in the league or midway through their career still can't even match his productivity. So to me, and you see I got him on the shirt, some 3 Kings of Basketball. To me, that was one of the best games I've seen him play in his whole entire career. And Luke Kennard, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry I wasn't more familiar with your game. And I know you've had a high 3-point percentage, but that's kind of like how, a guy like your coach, for example, the Lakers head coach, one of the guys, JJ Redick, one of the guys that always had a high 3-point threshold as far as shooting, making percentages wise. But I didn't have Luke Kennard on my radar to think he was going to make a difference like that. I think he scored like 27 in the first game. So if you are going to be without Austin Rivers, who has like an oblique injury, then Luka has a hamstring, and both of these injuries are nothing to sneeze at. So if they return, what version of them we will see? Like I say, that's if they return, because these are hamstring injury. Even when you think you're over, you're good. One wrong move, any athlete that's ever played sports know that hamstring is a very tricky injury. So Luke Kennard, I apologize. I wasn't up on your game like I should have been, but you dropped in a cool 27 timely. And Ho Chi Minh Yor, man, I heard they kind of benched him earlier in the year or cut his playing minutes because I don't know what was going on, but every time I see him play, he's automatic. He hustles, he defends his position, and he has a 3-ball that is more than consistent. More often than not, I see him, especially when everybody pulls, they pull the defense in, they leave him open on the wing or corner, more than consistent. He's almost damn near guaranteed to make that shot if you leave him open or you dare him to shoot that jumper. And I don't think nobody's leaving him open on purpose. It's just the Lakers have a nicely constructed offense. That's why I got to tip my hat to JJ Redick. He's actually, and I knew he knew basketball, but he's actually doing a better job coaching that team and keeping that team together than I thought he actually would. And it's, just starting off as a head coach. So on the Rockets side, now if KD comes back, I don't know what the extent of his injury is, but you got KD You got one of the Thompson twins, super athletic, and then Seguin. So you have horses, but if they're not out there, what good is a horse if you can't saddle it up? And that's the same way. I didn't even mention the other Thompson twin with Cade Cunningham. Like there was some very athletic brothers that they get busy, but like I say, what good is a horse if you can't saddle it up and take it out there in the Kentucky Derby and ride? So I thought once I saw the injury report to the Lakers that Houston would kind of be a walkaway because I thought KD might have more to work with than LeBron. But after game one, I'm actually leaning more towards the Lakers winning this series because everybody tells me how good KD is, where he ranks up amongst all-time greats. And I think we need to start having a conversation. Are we ranking players by individual talent, like rival with the WNBA, or what we're saying what they bring to a team constraint? Because it's guys like Westbrook, KD, individually, if you out there on the blacktop 1v1, ain't too many you put above them. But when it comes to winning, playing winning basketball and a winning formula, where do you rank them? So I definitely will put LeBron ahead of him in that regard because I've seen what LeBron brings to winning and turning the organization around. And you could say teams were loaded or not, but KD has played with some of the most stacked teams of NBA history. If you go back and look at rosters from Devin Booker to Westbrook and Harden to KD when he actually won his 2 rings, he did win Finals MVP, but that was one of them things like you just can't mess it up. As long as you do what you do, you just can't mess it up. So do you get credit for that? Of course. But how much credit do you tilt it when you look at a guy like LeBron for what he's taken to the playoffs and what we've seen him work with even when he hadn't had those all-star rosters with the early Cleveland Cavaliers team. And that was a weaker Eastern Division, but he's impacted winning more than I think KD has. So I was leaning more towards the Rockets when I first saw the injury of the Lakers, but I think the King got one of the best gifts he could have received by seeing KD pop up on their injury report. And last but not least, we got defending champs. We got the Thunder and the Suns. Now I really think you got Book over there. You know, you got Dylan Brooks. He's gonna give you everything he got. But when you come talking about the Thunder with SGA, Dort, all the Williams, every Williams you can name on that team, and from 1 through 15, everybody contributes. Everybody knows their role. They're not selfish. And they love to see each other flourish and do good. I see the Suns actually getting swept. Like I said, I know Book can have one of those explosive games. He had a 70-point game. He's one of them. But he's one of those guys where his numbers are starting to be empty as well, starting to be empty calories. But they might can steal one if they go back to Phoenix and just really have one of those, out your body games. But there's no way I see them even posing a threat to the Thunder. I think this is going to be a real easy series for the Thunder. So, hey, y'all tap in. Y'all let me know. Fair assessment, East and West. Don't disagree. If you don't agree with something I said about one of your teams, let me know. Let me know if I picked your team as a loser and you think they got a real shot. I want to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in. In the words of Ricky Bobby, if you don't win, you lose. AVG Sports Media. We out.